Hey, I'm a Rakshasas Reptilian from the center of Earth, and as you could see with your own eyes, I'm not a human being like you. And to be honest, I'm no real mammal, despite my partly mammal-like body features, which are a result of evolution. I'm a female reptile being belonging to a very old reptilian race. We are the native Terrans, and we have lived on this planet for millions of years. We are mentioned in your religious writings like your Christian Bible, and many of the ancient human tribes were aware of our presence and worshipped us as gods. For example, the Egyptians and the Inca and many other old tribes. Your Christian religion has misunderstood our role in your creation, so we are mentioned as evil serpents in your writings. This is wrong. Your race was genetically engineered by aliens called the Anunnaki, and we were just the more or less passive visitors of this accelerated evolution process. You must know, some of your scientists have already guessed this, that your species had evolved at a naturally completely impossible speed within just 2 to 3 million years. This is absolutely impossible because evolution is a much slower process if it's natural, but you have not understood this. Your creation was artificial and done by genetic engineering, but not by us, but by an alien species known as the Anunnaki. They are called the Elohim in your Bible. If you ask me if I'm an extraterrestrial, I must answer no. We are native Terrans. An extraterrestrial being refers to a creature or life form originating from and existing outside of planet Earth, often referred to as an alien. In the context of science fiction, a Terran refers to a human or a being from Earth, derived from the Latin word terra for Earth. The term Terran is a common way to refer to humans or beings from Earth in science fiction, particularly when the story takes place in a universe with multiple species. We have colonies in other star systems, but we originate on this planet. Tiwaya is what we call it. It's in fact our planet and not yours. It was never yours. The word Terran is derived from terra, the Latin name for Earth. Other terms used to refer to humans or beings from Earth in science fiction include Earthian, Earthy, Earthling, and Earthman. You might ask, what is my name? This is difficult because your human tongue is not able to pronounce it correctly, and a mispronunciation of our names is very offensive for some of my kind. Our language is very different from yours, but my name is... I will try to say it smoother by use of your human letters, something like Shashakaskish, with a very, very strong pronunciation of the sh and k sounds. We have no forenames like you, but only a single but unique name which is divided and characterized by the way of speaking, and which is given not to children who have a known name, but only in a special procedure in the adolescent age at the time of either religious or scientific enlightenment, or awareness, as you would call it. I would appreciate it if you don't try to say my real name with your human tongue. Please call me Lacerta. This is the name I generally use when I'm among humans and talk with them. You might ask, how old are you? We measure the time not like you do in astronomical years and in the revolving of the Earth around the Sun, because we usually live beneath the surface of the planet. Our time measurement depends on periodically returning cycles in the Earth magnetic field, and according to this, and said with your numbers, I'm today, let me calculate, 57,653 cycles old. I have reached my adult phase and my awareness 16,337 cycles ago. This is a very important date for us. According to your human time scale, I'm around 28 years old. You might ask, what is your mission? Do you have a job like us? I'm a curious student of the social behavior of your species. That's why I'm here and talking to you. That's why I have revealed my real nature to some humans, and that's why I give you all the secret information and why I will try to answer all the questions on your many sheets of paper honestly. I will see how you react, how others of your kind react. There are so many goofies and liars of your kind on this planet who claim to know the truth about us, about UFOs, about aliens and so on, and some of you believe their lies. I'm interested to see how your species will react if you're told the truth, which I will tell you now, publicly. I'm quite sure all of you will refuse to believe my words, but I hope I'm wrong because you need to understand if you want to survive the coming years. Some observed UFOs, as you call them, belong to us, but most don't. Most of the mysterious flying objects in the sky are not technological devices, but mainly misinterpretations of natural phenomena your scientists have not understood, like spontaneous plasma flares in the high atmosphere. Nevertheless, some UFOs are real craft belonging either to your own species, especially to your military, or to other alien species, or at last to us, but a minority of sighted craft belongs really to us, because we are generally very careful with our movements in the atmosphere, and we have special ways to hide our ships. If you read a report about a sighting of a metallic, bright gray, cigar-shaped cylindrical object with a length of, there are different types, let me say between 20 and 260 of your meters, and if this object had made a very deep humming sound, and if there were 5 bright red lights on the metallic surface of the cigar, 1 at the top, 1 in the middle, 2 at the end, then it's likely that one of you have seen one of our ships, and this means that it was either partly defect or that one of us was not careful enough. We have also a very small fleet of disc-shaped craft, but such UFOs belong usually to an alien species. Triangular UFOs belong generally to your own military, but they used alien technology to build them, which they got from the Greys. If you really want to try to see one of our craft, you should have a look at the skies over the Arctic, the Antarctic, and over Inner Asia, especially over the mountains there. We have 2 major symbols representing our species. One, the more ancient symbol, is a blue serpent with 4 white wings on a black background. The colors have religious meanings for us. This symbol was used from certain parts of my society, but it is today very seldom seen. You humans have copied it very often in your old writings. The other symbol is a mystic being you would call a dragon, in the shape of a circle with 7 white stars in the middle. This symbol is much more common today. If you see one of those symbols on a cylindrical craft or on some underground installation, this thing or place belongs definitely to us, and I would advise you to go away from there as soon as possible. You might ask, do the 7 stars in the second symbol you've mentioned, do they mean the Pleiades? No. Actually, the 7 stars are planets and moons, and they are a symbol for our former 7 colonies in the solar system. The stars are shown in front of a blue background, and the dragon circle means the shape of Earth. The 7 white stars mean the Moon, Mars, Venus, and 4 moons of Jupiter and Saturn we had colonized in the past. 2 colonies are no longer in use and abandoned, so 5 stars would be more correct. I know that it would be helpful to prove the authenticity of this interview if you can make some photos from me. Otherwise, you humans are very skeptic. That's good for us and for the real alien species acting secretly on this planet. So even if you had such photos, many of your kind would say that they are fraud, that I'm just a masked human woman or something like that. That would be very offensive for me. You must understand that I can't give you permission to make photos of me or of my equipment. This have various reasons which I will not discuss with you further, but one of the reasons is the keeping up of the secrecy of our existence. Another reason is more religious. Nevertheless, you have permission to make drawings of my look and of my equipment. I can show you later. I can also try to describe myself, but I doubt that others of your kind will be able to imagine my real look just from simple words, because the automatic denial of the existence of reptilian species, and generally of intelligent species other than your own, is part of the programming of your mind. Well, I will try. Imagine the body of a normal human woman, and you have at first a good imagination of my body. Like you, I have a head, 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 legs, and 2 feet, and the proportions of my body are like yours. As I'm female, I have also 2 breasts. Despite our reptile origin, we have started to give milk to our babies during the evolution process. This happened around 30 million years ago, because this is the best thing to keep the young alive. Evolution had done this for your species already in the dinosaur age and, a little bit later, also for ours. That means not that we are now real mammals, but the breasts of us are not as large as those of human woman, and the size of them is generally equal for every female of my kind. The external reproduction organs are for both sexes smaller than those of humans, but they are visible, and they have the same function as yours, another gift of evolution to our species. My skin is mainly of a green-beige color, more pale green, and we have some patterns of brown irregular dots, each dot of the size of 2 centimeters, on our skin and in our face. The patterns are different for both sexes, but females have more, especially in the lower body and in the face. You can see them in my case as 2 lines over the eyebrows crossing my forehead, at my cheek, and at my chin. My eyes are a little bit larger than human eyes. For this reason, we can see better in the darkness, and usually dominated from the large black pupils, which are surrounded from a small bright green iris. Males have a dark green iris. The pupil is slit and can change its size from a small black line to a wide-open egg-shaped oval, because our retina is very light-sensitive, and the pupil must compare this. We have external round ears, but they are smaller and not so curved as yours, but we can hear better because our ears are more sensitive for sonic. We can also hear a wider range of sonic. There's a muscle or lid over the ears which can completely close them, for example, underwater. Our nose is more pointed, and there is a V-shaped curving between the nostrils, which enabled the ancestors to see temperature. We have lost most of this ability, but we can still feel temperature much better with this organ. Our lips are shaped like yours, those of females a little bit larger than those of males, but of a pale brown color, and our teeth are very white and strong and a little bit longer and sharper than your soft mammal teeth. We have no different hair colors like you, but there is a tradition to color the hairs in different ages, and the original color is, like mine, a greenish brown. Our hairs are thicker and stronger than yours, and they grow very slow. In addition, the head is the only part of our body where we have hairs. Our body, arms, and legs are similar in shape and size to yours, but the color is different, green, beige like the face, and there are scale-like structures on the upper legs, over the knee, and upper arms, over the elbow. Our 5 fingers are a little bit longer and thinner than human fingers, and our skin on the palm is plain, so we have no lines like you, but again a combination of a scale-like skin structure and of the brown dots. Both sexes have the dots on the palm, and we have no fingerprints like you. If you touch my skin, you will feel that it is smoother than your hairy skin. There are small, sharp horns on the upside of both middle fingers. The fingernails are gray and generally longer than yours. You see that my nails are not so long and round at the top. This is because I'm female. Males have sharp pointed nails with a length of sometimes 5 or 6 of your centimeters. The following feature is very different from your body and part of our reptilian origin. If you touch the backside of my upper body, you will feel a hard, bony line through my clothing. This is not my spine, but a very difficult-shaped external plate structure of skin and tissue following exactly our spine from the head to the hip. There is an extremely high number of nerves and large blood vessels in this structure and in the plates, which are around 2 or 3 centimeters long and very touch-sensitive. This is the reason why we have always problems to sit in chairs with a back like this chair. The main task of these small plates, beside a role in our sexuality, is simply the regulation of our body temperature, and if we sit in natural or artificial sunlight, these plates become more blood-filled, and the vessels become wider, and the sun is able to heat up our reptoid blood, which circulates through the body and through the plates, for many degrees, and that gives us a great pleasure. We have no navel because we were born in a different way to your mammal birth. The other exterior differences from your kind are minor, and I think I must not mention all now, because most of them are not visible if we wear clothing. I hope the description of my body was detailed enough. I would advise you to make some drawings. You might ask, what kind of clothing do you generally wear? I suppose this is not the way you dress normally. No, I wear this human everyday clothing only when I'm among humans. To be honest, it's not very comfortable for me to wear such tight things, and it is always a very unusual feeling. If we are in our own home, this means in our subterranean home, or in our large artificial sun areas, and if we are together with others near to our own name, we are usually naked. Is this shocking for you? When we are in the public, and together with many others of my species, we wear very wide and soft clothing made of thin, light stuff. I've told you that many parts of our bodies are very touch-sensitive, mostly the small back plates, so we can't feel comfortable in tight clothing because it can hurt us. Man and women often wear the same kind of clothing, but the colors are different for the sexes. When we say family, you would call it family, but with this word you mean only those of your kind which belong genetically together like father or mother and child. As I have said earlier, we have a very difficult and unique name. Part of the pronunciation of that name is absolute unique, and there is no other being with the same name, but part of this name, the middle part, is pronounced in a way that told the others to which family, I must use the word, because you haven't the right one in your vocabulary, you belong. This means not that all in that group are genetically related to you, because these groups are usually very large and contain between 40 and 70 of us. This group includes generally your genetic relations, except one of them had decided to leave this group, and your connection with father and mother is often the strongest. It would be too difficult for me to explain to you now our very old social system, which is very complex, and we would need many hours only for the primary things. Maybe we can meet another time and I can give you detailed descriptions of all these things. We have no visible tail. If you look at our skeleton, there is only a small rounded bone at the end of our spine behind the pelvis. This is a useless rudiment of the tail of our ancestors, but it is not visible from the outside. Our embryos have tails during the first months of development, but these tails disappear before they were born. A tail makes only sense for a primitive species which tries to walk on two legs and must hold the balance with the tail. But our skeleton has changed during evolution and our spine is nearly in the same shape as yours, so we need no tail to stay on 2 feet. We lay eggs, but not like your birds or primitive reptiles. Actually, the embryo grows in a protein liquid inside the mother's womb, but there is also an egg-shaped but very thin chalk hull around it that fills the whole womb. The embryo inside this hull is completely autarky from the mother's body, and it has every substance it needs to develop inside this chalk hull. There's also a cord like your navel cord, which is connected to a point hidden behind the back plates. When the baby is going to be born, the whole egg is pressed through the vagina covered in a slimy protein substance, and the baby comes out of this soft egg after some minutes. These 2 horns on our middle fingers were instinctively used from babies to break through the chalk hull to take their first breath. Our young are not so large as your babies when they were born. They are between 30 and 35 of your centimeters tall. The egg is around 40 centimeters tall. This is because our vagina is smaller than a human one, but we grow to a normal size of 160 to 180 meters. We are not mammals, and as reptiles, our body temperature depends on the temperature of our surrounding. If you touch my hand, you will maybe feel that it is colder than yours, because our normal body temperature is around 30 to 33 degrees Celsius. If we sit in the sun, especially naked and with our row of small back plates in the sun, our body temperature can rise for 8 or 9 degrees within minutes. This rise causes a production of many enzymes and hormones in our body. Our heart and brain and every organ becomes more active, and we feel then very good. You humans only enjoy being in the sun, but for us, it is the greatest pleasure you can imagine, maybe like your sexual excitement. We also enjoy swimming in very warm water or other liquids to rise our body temperature. If we are for some hours in the shadow, our temperature goes back to 30 to 33 degrees. This can cause no harm to us, but we feel much better in the sun. We have artificial sunrooms in the underground, but this is not the same for us like the real sun. We generally eat various things like humans: flesh, fruit, vegetables, special kinds of fungus from subterranean farms, and other things. We can also eat and digest some substances which are poisonous for you. The main difference between you and us is that we must eat flesh because our body needs the proteins. We can't live completely vegetarian like your kind because our digestion would stop working and we would die after some weeks or maybe months without flesh. Many of us eat raw flesh or other things which would be disgusting for you. Personally, I prefer cooked flesh and surface fruits like apples or oranges. This is a very long and complex story, and it sounds certainly unbelievable to you, but it's the truth. I will try to explain it in short. Around 65 million years ago, many of our unadvanced ancestors from the dinosaur race died in a great global cataclysm. The reason for this destruction was not a natural disaster, an asteroid impact as your scientists believe falsely, but a war between 2 enemy alien groups that took place mainly in the orbit and high atmosphere of your planet. According to our limited knowledge about the early days, this global war was the first alien war on planet Earth. But it was definitely not the last, and a future war is coming soon, while a Cold War, as you call it, between alien groups is ongoing since the last 73 years on your planet. The opponents in this 65-million-year-old war were 2 advanced alien species. One race was humanoid like your species, but much older, and was from this universe, from a tri-solar system in the star constellation you call Lyra today in your star maps. The other species was a reptilian species, but they're different from our own species because we have evolved from local saurians without exterior influence, except the successful manipulation of our own genes by us. We'll talk more about that later. The advanced reptilian species came not from this universe, but from well, how should I explain it to you? Your scientists have not really understood the true nature of the universe because your illogical mind is not able to see the easiest things and relies on wrong mathematics and numbers. This is part of the genetic programming of your kind, to which I will break down later. Let me say that you are nearly as far away from the understanding of the universe as you were 500 years ago. To use a term you will maybe understand, the other species came not from this universe, but from another bubble, in the foam of the omniverse. You would call it maybe another dimension, but this is not the right word to describe it correctly. By the way, the term dimension is generally wrong in the way you understand it. The fact you should remember is that advanced species are able to walk between bubbles by use of, as you would call it, quantum technology, and sometimes in special ways only by use of their mind. My own species had also advanced mental abilities in comparison to your species, but we are not able to do the matter string/bubble changing without technology, but other species active on this planet are able, and this looks to you like magic as it had to your ancestors. Back to our own history. The first species, the humanoids, called the Anunnaki and Elohim, had reached Earth around 150,000 years before the Draconian Reptilians, and they built some colonies on the former continents. There was a large colony on the continent you call Antarctica today, and another one in the continent you call Asia today. These people lived together with animal-like saurians on the planet without problems. When the advanced reptilian species arrived in this system, the humanoid colonists from Lyra tried to communicate peacefully, but they were not successful, and a global war started within months. You must understand that both species were interested in this young planet not for his biology and undeveloped species, but for only one reason: raw material, especially gold, silver, crystals, and copper. To understand this reason, you must know that gold and copper is a very important material for some advanced species, even today, because it is, together with some unstable materials, able to produce new stable elements if you induce a high electromagnetic field in the right angle with a high nuclear radiation field to produce an overcrossing of fluctuating fields. The fusion of copper with other elements in such a magnetic radiation field chamber can produce a force field of special nature that is very useful for various technological tasks, but the base for this is an extremely complex formula you are not able to discover because of the restrictions of your simple mind. Both species wanted to have the gold, copper, and other minerals of planet Earth, and for this reason they fought a not very long war in space and orbit. The humanoid species seemed to be successful during the first time, but in a last battle the reptilians decided to use a mighty experimental weapon, a special kind of fusion bomb which should destroy the life forms on the planet but should not harm the valuable raw materials and the copper. The bomb was fired from space and detonated at a point of your planet you call Middle America today. As it detonated in the ocean, it produced an unpredictable fusion with hydrogen, and the effect was much stronger than the reptilians had expected. A deadly radiation, an overproduction of fusion oxygen, a fallout of different elements, and a nuclear winter for nearly 200 years were the result. Most of the humanoids were killed, and the reptilians lost their interest on the planet after some years for, even for us, unknown reasons, maybe because of the radiation. Planet Earth was on its own again, and the animals on the surface died. By the way, one result of the fusion bomb was the fallout of different elements and materials created in the burning process, and one of those materials was iridium. Your human scientists today see the iridium concentration in the ground as evidence for an asteroid impact that killed the dinosaurs. That is not true, but how should you know that?